Hello, and welcome to our weekly LinkedIn Live leadership series, Voices of Leadership. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Kathy Eastwood, your host and founder and CEO of Equals Y. Each week, we explore the fascinating world of leadership, featuring voices from various generations, countries, industries, and backgrounds. A team's job is to deliver results. The role of the leader is to empower, inspire, and enable the people in the team to deliver on those results. And there is a repeatable formula to drive that success, the E3 leadership code: express plus engage plus execute, powered by emotional qualities. However, each leader's approach is different. And that's why I love having on different leaders to tell us how they show up and how they really work with their teams to drive success. So, before I introduce our guests, I just want please feel free to introduce yourself, let us know where you're calling in from, and absolutely ask questions because we want to target this for what you would love to hear about. So with that, let me start and introduce today's guest. He's someone that I've known for a really long time. We were just going back through like when we first met, which was over 25 years ago. We worked together at PlanView. Even then, Sonny stood out as someone who not only understood technology, but also understood people. So I'm happy to introduce Sönke Claussen. He is now the founder and CEO of B360. It's a company that merges IT and business into a holistic management approach, which has been recognized by Gartner, Forrester, and others. What I admire most about Sonny and what he's done is all the while he's been shaping the future of technology, his leadership has remained rooted in sustainability, team spirit, and the trust is at the core of it. He believes people are the real engine of innovation and has built a company where employees feel challenged, inspired, and connected. And I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot when we get to it, but I love watching the things that you've done with your teams. I'm like, oh, that's a fun team activity. So always great to have you. So Sonny, you've had a long journey, and to get where you are, you have a lot of experience. And I just gave like the 2-second overview. When you look back on that journey from PlanView to building B360 into a global company and now expanding into the US, can you tell our audience in your words what that journey's looked like and what it's been like for you to lead through all this change?
Yeah, thanks for this amazing question. So for me, it's always curiosity, agility, learning. So it's always to see the next step. It's hard to say where you will be in 10 years, but it's very easy to sense the current situation, to learn from it, and to adapt. And I think me as a leader and also the company knows how to pivot really fast and also to adjust and see what's actually needed. And for sure, it's always key to keep the steadiness nevertheless, because you cannot pivot all the time because you just get lost. And so it's a little bit, exploitation to see where do I have to learn, where do I just do not know how it works, and listen carefully, listen to the people, try to sense what they want to go for, even if they cannot articulate it. While with other things where you have, let's say, a clear understanding, where you can try to bring standards and scalability and just also process discipline. And it's always this, let's say, difficult balance, especially for a grown company. Because for sure, if you're a startup with 3 people, it's easy to align also on values and just do things working. But if it's a growing team, you have to do different responsibilities, different way of leading. And this is a very, very interesting journey. And
when did the journey start, Sonny? So when did you start B360?
So my journey starts 2003, where we just felt that, let's say, PlanView at this time was pretty much focused on selling software. And it's just the key was selling software, providing not too much services, because the analysts want to see a ratio between service and software sale. And so we especially saw when you try to enter the European market that the customers expect much more service, much more change, much more training. And it was kind of not possible to bring it because otherwise you would screw up your figures, your KPIs. And this was exactly a point where I said, oh, I want to do more. I cannot do more. So I just have to do it in a different way. And this was exactly the way where we started our business, Klausmark, in these days, and said, all right, it's for us not important that they sell the software. It's for us important that they use the software and that they drive value out of the software. And so this was pretty much around change management, because buying the software does not help at all. It's the application, it's of the software, it's the leading with the tool. It's again leadership, data-driven leadership, and this was a very interesting story.
Yeah. So that's 22 years ago. Am I doing 23 years ago already?
Yeah.
And so now you've built a business up from the ground. So it was yourself and a couple of people, and now you're I don't know how many, I can't do my math, but a much larger company. And you were focused primarily in Europe and started in Germany first, right? And built up the business.
Absolutely.
What has been, so as you think about building this business, right? What's going through your mind as far as balancing customers and people, really, right? Because that's really what the journey's been for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is pretty much around value, and it's very similar if it's customers or if it's employees and people. Yeah. So for me, it's always key to understand the responsibilities. Also have a very open communication, and it doesn't matter if it's customers or if it's employees. It doesn't matter if it's a team. And I think for me also trust is a very core value, because if you have trust and if you have this long-term relationship like ours, it's so easy to get connected, even if you see yourself only very rarely, but still you have roots of trust. And this is also what makes me really, really proud in terms of the long-term employees, but also in terms of the long-term customers. And recently there was a Gartner report, and it was amazing because they wrote as a strength of us, we have the longest relationships with the clients in the industry. This I feel really proud of, because if you know, for example, like Miele, this large household consumer brand, and you are with them more than 15 years, and you know the CIO even longer, this is impressive because they have so many transformations in between, and you're kind of the steadiness with your, let's say, with your platform, with your consultant, with your trust to the leaders, and this is amazing. So this trust part is for me really, really key.
Yeah. And so that sounds like it's core to your leadership style and how you like to show up.
Sorry?
It's core to who your leadership style and how you like to show up. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so on the other side, let's say, I think it's also key to have this pragmatic approaches, and also to focus. Nevertheless, you have to sense, but still, if you have a decision, you have to focus and also be able to execute. And doing that, it's so key that you're aware of the limits of the organization in terms of capacities, in terms of multitasking, in terms of having the time to think, and also to do. Because it's so easy, especially in these times, to get the distraction all the time. Because every day there's a new AI which helps you to do more, whatever. And for sure, it's amazing new technologies out there that really help. But if you want to keep up with everything, you do not have any time to sleep. You have not any time to work. And so this focus on, let's say, learning new things, being ready for tomorrow, but also not wasting time today, it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge for everyone, because if you do not look too much for the future, you stick to the past. But if you look too much into the future, you cannot deliver anything today. And so this is a huge challenge.
How do you balance that, looking into the future and, staying in the present at the same time?
Yeah, for me, it's really key that I try to have a schedule where I have one day in a week where I have nothing to do, We have no plans. We have a very open agenda, because then I can think. Because I think most leaders have the problem that they have an agenda that they cannot think, because it's meeting after meeting after meeting, checkup after checkup. And this is something for me always key, to have this freedom in the schedule, because then you can catch up with people you want to catch up, you need to catch up, and not just follow your schedule. Yeah. So this is a very important thing for me. And now being US, it makes it much easier, because Europe is 6 hours in front of us. That means around noontime, they will go, let's say, to finalize their workday. And so for me, it's always the afternoon, which is pretty flexible. And I really enjoy this, because, yeah, it makes me also the possibilities to focus on the market, to build the right relationships, find the right people, to leverage our power we have in Europe, also in the States. Because the challenges are similar, and we are looking really forward to addressing them.
I love it. Just that idea of stopping to think. I think that is something many of us think is a luxury, but it is really something fundamental to being a strong leader and running a business.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I got also have this amazing opportunity to have this Harvard Business School class with other owner and presidents of companies internationally. And yeah, it's amazing. It's a 3 weeks intense program, and you have to get out of your business for 3 weeks. And you really have to focus. You have to relearn, rethink, and engage. And it's a big luxury to know that we have so strong organizations with those strong leaders, that it's possible to step away for a period of time, and the things are working well, because the people are empowered, the people know what they're doing, and they manage to get through with very little interaction with me as a CEO. And that makes me really feel proud of the team, and how they are empowered and how they can execute.
So you and I were talking earlier in the week, and you were saying that when you were in Germany, close to the team where you started, it's easy to keep a pulse on what's happening. And as you moved over to the US and expanding, you really had to change how you were showing up and how you were going to work with the team. So tell us a little bit about that mindset shift for you, from being right there to being 6 hours away.
Yeah, I think this mind shift even started earlier. So I had a very interesting conversation long time ago, where I learned about the rule of three in terms of scaling. And I think this really shaped my leadership, because very often you think of the next small step, but not on the bigger step it has to be. And having this rule of 10, I learned it probably when we were around 15. This was pretty clear to think about how would you act if you would be a company of 30. So what functions would you have? For example, if you would have a sales function when we have a company of 30. If you have a company of 10, pretty much everyone is doing it. You do it as a founder, but it's not dedicated. And also this 30 to 100, next big step. So for me, it was pretty clear, we are international. So we will work all over the world. We have different time zones. Yeah. And so you can also think of the next step ahead and what to get in shape. And sometimes it seems too early, but nevertheless, you have to come there. Yeah. And so it was for me also in the last 2 years pretty clear that I have to set up a management team which is capable working without me. And it's more a strategic alignment on a quarterly basis. And for sure, a management review, a monthly management review. And this is exactly what I'm established from the beginning of the year, but we are now actually doing it, let's say, in 2 time zones. So it's a little bit test of time. So let's hope that it works out well. Yeah. So we'll see. It's a little bit too early to celebrate it. But so far, we survived 3 months, and hopefully it will thrive.
Well, and I love, we talked about the E3 Leadership Code, but so what you're really embracing is first that expression of what the end vision is, right? So as you lead the day to day with your team, I'm hearing you say is they know what the vision looks like, and you've expressed it. And so you don't have to be giving guidance day to day, but it's like, here's where we're going. You know how I like to lead, you know what I love and where we are. And then I trust you. So there's the trust comes back in, right? Trusting them to go execute on your vision.
Yeah, absolutely. So high expectations, deep devotion. Yeah, it's really key that that they know they can do it. I know they will have also the progress in developing themselves and achieving it, and trying to give the best support to get them where they want to be. Yeah, and a little bit also treat them like their future theirs and not the current theirs. Yeah, and I think this is hopefully pretty much empowering.
Yeah, I love it. So you started this business. Would you say, when you had started, you had the skills of a leader to be running a business that was going international at that time?
Not at all. So my, my background, so my background is computer science. So I felt relatively soon that I'm not the programming guy, because I do not like all these issues and fixing the issues and so on. So I felt very early that I'm a good communicator in terms of understanding what the business really needs, a little bit like a business analyst, but then also not just analyzing it, also doing the whole execution. So delivering it, doing the change, that it's really also applied the knowledge and that it also drives the value. So this end-to-end view from understanding a problem, getting it, let's say, fixed, and also doing the change that the organization works differently. So, and this is always the issue. If you are aware of doing it in all steps, it's so hard to hand it over and go to the leadership perspective, because very often I also hear with our team leaders and principals, it's much faster if I can do it myself. Yeah, it is faster if you can do it yourself, but you're pretty much limited. So, and I think the most challenging thing for me as a leader was to accept at a certain point that it probably will not done in the same quality, but the quality is good enough. Because if I would have done it 3 years earlier, it was also not the today's quality, and it was good enough. So just accept that there's a learning curve, and even if you start delegation, that the quality may drop a little bit, but it's still good enough in the perception of the client. Because very often, if you are an expert, you over deliver, you do much more than the client expect, and he does not want to have this full amount. Yeah, but it's for you, it's just the reality that this is the level, but it's not. And so if I learned it that 80% is 100%, it was much easier also to give away this responsibility. And then magic happens, because you empower people. They do it even better than you ever could do it. Yeah, but you have to give them freedom. You have to give them the room that they can really also deliver it.
So for leaders, that's hard. I mean, let's be honest. I'm one of those. I tend to like to have control. That's my personality, and I practice on a regular basis. What is some advice that you can give to people on how to do it? Right. So how do you give up that control and delegate and allow others to shine in those situations?
Yeah, I think it's still hard. Yeah, so but I think it's important, especially in the beginning, and especially if you do not know the people long enough to build this trust. And I think trust is built through interactions. So I think in the beginning, it is probably really important to meet on a regular basis, even if it's just digital, that doesn't matter, and also give the room that they can bring everything they demand, they want to ask, and also try to set guidance, try to set boundaries, try to set alignment. Yeah. And the interesting thing is, the better you know the people, the more magic happens. So, for example, with my chief revenue officers and my chief technical officers, we do not have regular one-on-ones, because we are pretty well aligned. So it's more this very few strategic alignment meetings or monthly alignment meetings, or if there is a demand. And then it's more ad hoc. And having a calendar which has room, it's not a problem to have ad hoc. Yeah. So it's always free time to align if it's needed. Yeah. And this is for me the perfect match. If it's really working autonomously, but nevertheless it's well aligned. So
Yep.
and I think this is a process, and in the process for sure has to start with trust, and trust has to be deserved. You cannot say, oh, you're a nice guy, I trust you, let's go for it, because this is just naive. Because you can only trust if the alignment is well, if the alignment to the value is well, if you have a similar boundary system, because otherwise there are too many hiccups in the relationship, and that destroys trust again. So, and this is exactly a very interesting process for me.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that it really is stopping and thinking about the people and the trust that you're building, making sure they understand, and then allowing them to, move forward. So there's a question from one of the our guests today, and talking about how there's a lot of cultures out there that is meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting,
Yeah.
right? And so when you have a workplace environment that's like that, and you're wanting to be able to discuss with senior leaders, you need to get time to get the work done, to sit and strategize. What are some of your suggestions on how people can approach that and help them understand the value of what you're doing by creating that space for strategy and talking?
Yeah. I think important is how are decisions made. So if the decisions are only made via meetings, it's hard. You get really stuck. But for us, we have a very structured approach in how we manage knowledge, how we manage communications, and we are pretty much organized in channels. And so a lot of communications and also decisions can be made asynchronously. It doesn't mean that we have to be in the same time in the same room discussing things. It's more about being prepared, doing a proposal, doing a review, yeah, and then it's more, let's say, asynchronous chat conversation where you can also get, let's say, alignment to. But this frees up the calendar pretty much, because very often meetings, the people are semi-prepared because they're stuck with meetings, and so it's much better to say, right, we do not have a meeting. It's better every one of us just thinks 1 hour, reviews the stuff they should deliver, and also deliver it in a way that others can just commit to it. Yeah. And so the question is, I think the synchronous time is key if you want to brainstorm, if you want to open up, if you want to really align. But a lot of decisions are just writing it in a concrete form and agree on it. And so it's much more preparation, reading. And if you start this different way of working, they really know where to enrich information, data, decision points, then it becomes much easier. And also, it's also a little bit of mindset. So it's not bad that my calendar is empty.
Oh,
Because it feels, oh, I have nothing to do, I have to have a meeting. Yeah. No, I do not have to have a meeting. So I have a lot of things I want to achieve. And if I have the time, the question is, what do I next? And how can I get it finished? And again, it's this filtering process, bringing the right energy to the topic, not having too many things simultaneously, because otherwise it's just waste. Yeah. And also for me, key is also prevent bottlenecks. So if I find a bottleneck and I can solve this bottleneck, that's the best thing I can do, because otherwise the organization cannot flow. And it's always typically very, very few bottlenecks. And if you're, as a leader, if you see, all right, someone is stuck and I can help, that's amazing. And therefore you need the time, because if you're completely booked through, you have no ways to do it.
So you use the word structure,
Yeah.
right? As far as how we're going to make decisions and how we're going to work together. So was that a collaborative decision on how you put that structure together? Was it something that you knew and seen had worked, or is something that you built over time and that's become the culture?
Interesting question. So it was a little bit coincidence. So it was around 2019, just before COVID, where we decided to do a second site in Germany. It was the first time where we're not somehow all in one city. So we have to change the way we work, and also we have to document. And so we set up exactly this way of working where we said, all right, We have a structure of topics, and if we communicate for a topic, we have it in a thread, and it's all open. So typically with our company, everyone can access every information if it's not forbidden by law. So for example, the personal files, no, they are not open. But almost everything which we can open, it's open. So that means if I want to watch a conversation, for example, around our new policies for handling AI, I can do it. Yeah, I can command it. So if I have the time, if I have the interest, and having this, let's say, this value of being focused, the people do not browse around because they know what they should do towards their goal. But if they are interested and if they got a question at Casey, what do you think about it? Does it also work for you? Then it's so easy getting their opinion. So we do not need a meeting for them where we read something to them and they later discuss it. Yeah. So it's more this asynchronous. Yeah. And we have this big gift of this site before COVID, because all the system, all the processes are in place. And if it's two sites or if it's everywhere in the world, it just doesn't matter. And so I think this was a very big culture shift, what we did 2019, where it was pretty much decision communication structure. For us, everything is in Teams. Yeah, pretty amazing structure from personal files to customer collaboration, really everything in one place. Yeah, and that really makes it possible.
Yeah, and I love that and that's how you've been able to scale, right? Because when you're small and it's a couple of you can all chit chat right over the lunch table and get things done. But as you want to grow, having that structure,
now, by the way, it's interesting. So as you know, it's a little bit like a Facebook. So even if you're sometimes on holidays and you're bored, you think, do I scroll Instagram or I can also scroll Team? And it's a bit catching up information while you're just having this, let's say, unstructured time. And that's really interesting. And we really see most of the people catch up with their most important topics, and it flows pretty well. If you compare it with, you need meetings where you update all the people and they still not get everything because no way, it's too much information. But if you know where you can find it instantly, it's much easier, because most of the information for me is not just in case, it's just in time. So I need it now, I have to find it. And if you have a great structure, it's also much easier for AI to access it and even accelerate it much more.
Yeah, I love it. And, I've often heard people say to me, Kath, we got to be agile. We don't need structure. But I think you need both, right? To be agile, you need to have structures in place, teaming agreements, the access to information, all of that, and the culture to allow you to be more agile. I think you're agreeing in this.
Totally agreed. So it's very often this, we do not manage to have right structures, so we tried agile. But after that, you screw it up agile, and you need structures again. I think agile, it's not having structure at all. It's completely wrong. It's very rigid structures in terms of how to communicate, how to document, how to align to goals, how to review goals, whatever. So it's pretty strong policies, processes, mindset. And it's just the opposite. It's a very high discipline. You need to have agile organizations successful.
Yeah, I love it. And we were talking earlier in the week also a little bit about learning that boundaries help. So you can give the vision, you have the working structure, but sometimes you have to let the team know what is out of bounds as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is also something we really have to improve. So this was a big learning for me, this boundary system. So I think we can be much clearer on that, because then there are even less hiccups. So to say what to do, it's always key. It's first setting the vision, setting the goals. But also to say what are we not doing as a second thing it's really key. And I think we can be much more precise, because having this clarity, it makes it much easier for everyone in the organization to know how to move efficiently, what is the playing field. And and I think this is something I really, really want to achieve this year.
I love it. So, what are some of the lessons you've learned over the years that you could say that if you wanted to help people avoid them, What are the biggest lessons you've had that have shaped your leadership?
I think the key for me is this high expectation. So I think this high expectation and empower the people to get there. Yeah, this is for me the biggest learning, and this mixes up very soon if you have a deep relationship with the people, because then you start thinking, all right, he's a nice guy, he cannot do it, but it's okay, he does his best, and this is wrong. So the expectation should always be on the level you need it for an organization. And if you have a deep relationship with him, you have to help him to reach it or her to reach it. Yeah. And I think this was a big mistake I made in the past. And this is a very big learning. I do not want to do it any longer. So if there is whatever, if it's a new hire or if it's a long colleague, so the awareness, what is the standard, what should we achieve, and how can I empower you to get there? It's the only way. It's never to, let's say, to adjust the expectation to the current situation, because this is the begin of a big issue, because then you always can justify why it's not working, and it's the way XYZ is, yeah, and that doesn't help. Yeah.
And it's hard for founders, right? Because you typically come in and you're working all aligned,
Yeah.
but the expectations grow, right? I assume the expectations you have and need of the group today is very different from when you first started or even 5 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So what brings us to the point where we are now is not the same. What brings us to the point we want to be in 3 years, and this is tough. So some people can involve, while others might not. Yeah, and especially if you're a relationship guy, it's tough.
Yeah, but what I'm hearing is you're still keeping the relationships. There's still trust, but you might have to say, I'm going to do my best to help you, but these are the expectations. And shall we work together to get there? If not, maybe this isn't the right opportunity anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, well, we are at the bottom of the hour. This time always goes so fast. What advice would you have to leaders out there that are really trying to converge? Because everything is very technology based. There's so much technology change happening in this day and age. What advice do you have of trying to converge technology and people strategies?
Yeah, I think this is pretty much about this curiosity, learning, yeah, but also focus, yeah, and also not always try to aim for the best. Very often, if you can adopt the second best in your organization, you're pretty good. And even if and it was also interesting. So I think the mediocre strategy with the mediocre execution is much better than the best strategy with a poor execution. And I think same is also with technology. Having a technology which is fair enough, it's okay. And if you can adjust it, make it a little bit better, it's okay. But you do not always have to aim for the best. It's more bring a system which is working with the people, with the right technology, and also reduce complexity. Because in our world, everywhere boosts this complexity. And if you have a sense what drives complexity, but what also reduces complexity, I think this is also key as a leader, because everyone wants to bring their ideas to the table, wants to bring their technologies to the table. And the result is a complexity which is just not possible to handle. And then it starts slowing down everything, because you do not have common processes, common ways of documenting. And so I think very few rules, but these rules should be really with a heart. And yeah, and that speeds up things.
With heart. I love that. And we're going to end on that one, Sonny, because that's so, I'm passionate about that. So thank you so much for joining us. You provided so many great nuggets. I mean, you're going to encourage me. You've motivated me to clear my calendar more and more and just think, and that it's okay to have space on the calendar. And that's a good thing. But you're right. There is something out there that people feel like they have to have their calendar booked to be worthy, but it's not. So I am taking that one away along with a bunch of others. So thank you so much for joining us. And if anyone, please follow Sonny and his business, because they are making huge changes of really being able to merge IT and business into a holistic management approach. And Sonny, where can they find you? At b360.com?
Yeah, base360.com or LinkedIn. I'm really happy to reach out to you.
Great.
Let's keep
Excellent. Thanks so much. And thank you to our audience for joining us. We really appreciate it. I love what Ralph Minnemeyer had to say of saying that execution isn't so much a right or wrong as in my way. It isn't about right or wrong. It's about what's the best way that we can get there. So thank you all. We are having actually a little plug. We're having a boot camp starting on October 8th. So if you're wanting to learn a little bit more of how to put vision out there and engagement and execution, which you need all of that, and really build on trust, join us on the boot camp and we'll share you some of those techniques for that. So thank you all. Have a great weekend. Sonny, thank you again.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
See ya. Have a nice weekend.